Hello, it's Philip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers in London. Now this morning I've got a book from Edward Elgar which I found fascinating to read. It's an important area of law, as you'll see in a few minutes. This is one of their research handbook series. This one is on Chinese environmental law. Now it's a very important subject and not something we should think of lightly at all. The book's been edited by Qin Tianbao and it's part of the research handbooks in environmental law from Elgar, who are an independent publishers. They produce some really high quality books for us, academically and in terms of practice. The book's available as a hardback and eBook. It's also available electronically from Elgaronline. Now my wife Elizabeth and I have had a good chat about the book, and this is the title of our review of the book. This excellent research handbook should be a compulsory reference work for all international environmental lawyers to read and evaluate as we struggle with 21st century global problems. Now that's a pretty big statement. This is the book, lovely panda on the front, there we go, spine and then the back. Some quotes as well. This is a detailed book, it's a hardback, you can see from that. I did like the green colour, I must say, green shoots of revival almost. But there again, you have got a panda on the front eating the stuff. There is the index at the back, and it's a detailed book, this one. You've got an annex, a short annex on a timeline, which I thought was quite of great events in the Chinese environmental protection law cycle. Now at the front of the book, you do have useful conclusions at the end of most of the chapters as well. There's the series so far as it's developing, the front page of the book, and then you've got all the contributors listed there in the table of contents. It's actually got 19 chapters, and the final chapter is a conclusion with that short annex, and then you've got right at the back the actual index. Then you've got the contributors, a lot of them. Very difficult for me to go through all the names, just to say that there are a large number of people involved in this. Then you've got the tables of environmental legislation there. And you go straight into the introduction with an overview of the subject, paragraph numbering and footnotes. So you've got all the usual stuff that you would expect. This particular chapter 3 deals with air pollution. So you see, you've got a lot to think of. And the reason why I think this is an important book is because of what we say in the review, and this is what we say. The 21st century faces one of its most important major international issues, the future of our environment. This excellent collection of views in a research handbook gives us some most useful pointers towards the way forward, notwithstanding all the hurdles along the way. And the People's Republic of China is the most populous country on the planet, and by definition ranks as the foremost country to identify and evaluate what its policies will need to be considered towards environmental law issues as they affect China and the rest of the world in this century. So it's a dramatic moment for all of us, and I don't think we can underestimate that, because as I've indicated, it's a very big country. It therefore has a very substantial responsibility to its own people, and I would suggest to everybody else, about the way they conduct themselves. And that is the same for America, and it's the same for Russia and the European Union, everybody else, and Africa and Asia. So you see, we've got to look at it from that point of view. So I'm not singling out anybody here at all, but I think this book is important because I think it helps us understand the magnitude probably of the problem which the Chinese government themselves will have to face. And this is not about party politics or anything else. It's about trying to find out what we're doing and how we're going to deal with things in the future, notwithstanding individual approaches, custom-based or whatever it might be. There are 14 contributors to this book, including the learned editor, Professor Qin Tianbao. I hope I've pronounced the names correctly. My apologies in advance if I haven't. The contents of the book are well described as providing a comprehensive review of the salient content and major developments of environmental law in transitional China. And to this end, the core concepts, basic mechanisms and key challenges of Chinese environmental law are discussed in great detail from what I think is a high academic standing, extending the frontier of understanding in what is a fundamental area of activity for all of us. And previous knowledge of Chinese environmental law is built upon in the text, which I think is of very great help to the West. And I think it will be of great benefit to those who are new to the subject. The editor and contributors take into consideration the concerns of how we are to face environmental issues in the context of economic growth, whatever economic policies are being followed. And we agree that scholars and readers will gain an in-depth understanding of the nuances of environmental law in China from this extensive and welcome overview of the substantive law area. Now, these authoritative research handbooks offer us for the first time a comprehensive overview through a rigorous examination of issues, giving a unique insight into the implementation problems and the possible reform needs of environmental governance in China, without, it is thought, giving offence because of the academic standard adopted, which is, as I say, very high, and a hallmark of Edward Elgar publications. I don't think, therefore, and I would say this, I hope, with some confidence, that anyone's going to take offence to what's being said. What they're trying to do is to set some picture of where we're going, and I think that's a very sensible, laudable objective. Tianbao's research handbook on Chinese environmental law then successfully explores the core concepts, basic mechanisms and key challenges of Chinese environmental law, and does extend the frontiers of understanding in this fundamental area. And the handbook combines theory and practice well, and the expert and leading contributors of the day provide us with an introduction to and comments on relevant environmental laws and regulations and their latest developments dealt with intelligently and, of course, with caution. The book builds upon previous knowledge of Chinese environmental law, divulging concerns on redressing environmental protection issues in the context of economic growth and sustainable development, all of which face all of us. It's not just one particular country or area, it affects everybody. Readers will certainly gain what is described as a discerning insight into the nuances of environmental regulation in China from this extensive review. I've used the word nuances twice, but you see what I'm actually moving towards with this. The work is a necessary exploration of Chinese environmental law for 2015 and is rightly considered an indispensable reference point for academics and advanced students of environmental studies in general and environmental law in particular. And we feel that legal practitioners will find the work both informative and important without being didactic. So thank you for offering us a refreshing view on what is an important subject. Quick look at the panda again at the front. There we go. Side and then the back. As I say, it runs to 400 odd pages. The conclusion at the end, not a particular one, talks about the open and reform policy. He does actually talk in some detail about where we're going, and I think it has opened the subject up much more. Let's have a look. Protected areas law and legislation, for instance, right in the middle. You see the structure, you've got footnoting. It doesn't overdo the footnoting, although having said that, that's rather a long footnote, but generally speaking, I think they're pretty good. You do have the paragraph numbering, of course, which makes it easier to find the stuff, and of course the index at the back uses actually does just use the page numbers, so that it isn't the paragraph numbering, it's the page numbering that you need for that. And just at the front again, let me just show you the people involved. Contributors, a large number of them there. Very important people in their own way, very experienced people. And they've given us a book which I think will be of great value to all of us. I'd like to thank Professor Tianbao and also all the people involved. It's an important debate. It's not going to go away, and it's something that we've got to look at and monitor throughout the whole of this century. So thank you to all concerned. Bye-bye.